Okay. All right. Well, this is self-explanatory, so we will move on to the next slide. Okay, first, and if there's something that really is not working here and you think you want to tell me, feel free to chime in. But let's not ask questions. Let's just put them in the chat or make a note of them. Okay, so before the pandemic, 31st Street was basically a powerhouse of door-to-door canvassing. I was not involved in that, so I can't really speak to it, but that's what I'm told. Some of you may have done that. And the thing to understand is that that was our own activity. We planned it. You signed up with us and you told us if you had to cancel. But that's not how the system works now, post-COVID. Team North Carolina is a facilitator. The team has identified worthwhile activities sponsored by organizations that meet the high standards of 31st Street and which are consistent with the reverse coattail strategy. Most are partisan activities supporting 31st Street approved candidates, but You Can Vote is strictly nonpartisan. But it does focus on the people who have not voted consistently in the past, helping them to get registered and to understand how to cast their ballot. So that basically is part of the 31st Street objective. So what we do as your team facilitators is we put things on we have a calendar. We're going to put their sign up links on our calendar so you can get to their website easily. We're here to provide support and help with questions about technology to the extent we can. And we're going to set up an opportunity for weekly debriefings to share experiences and ideas and problem solve, which will be totally voluntary. But the thing that I'm told to make sure you understand, you are signing up as an individual with each group, even though we may arrange for them to have special times just for our team sometime. If you need to cancel, you need to tell them. We don't need to know that. So here's the calendar. I'll be putting out a link to the calendar and it'll be on the website as well. And the main thing about the calendar is, it says here, remember to click twice. We've already had people confused by that. This isn't active link, so I can't really do it here. But if you click on one of these things, it looks like an active link, but it is only half of an active link because when you click on it, another link is going to pop up. That is the link you click on to get to the activity. So yeah, you just need to remember that second click. See. Okay, I think their website pretty much sums up what they are about. They help citizens become voters, they train and mobilize volunteers, and just are all about getting North Carolina citizens to successfully cast their ballot. And You Can Vote is not a national thing, it is just in North Carolina. So now what we, before you can do, what I'm going to try to do here is to give you a sense of what to expect. This is not training. You don't have to remember everything I tell you, but it can get to be a little overwhelming at certain points when you're first learning about the North Carolina voting rules and the website, and when you're learning how to use ThruTalk. So my goal is partly just to have you see everything at least once ahead of time, so that when you see it again in the training, when they're going pretty fast, you will both remember you've seen it before perhaps, and also I'll put these slides on the website so you can always go back if you thought there was something about it in the slides that you might want to see. So what happens is you're going to have to sign up for a 1-hour training session. They require that before you can do any calling. They basically go over all the, let me just make sure there's, well, I hope there's nobody. Does anybody know if I would see somebody asking to be let in once I'm looking at this? Let me just stop the share for a sec and look. Oh, there is somebody. Okay.
I don't believe you can see it.
Yeah. Okay, I think you're right.
You have to click
So,
on participants and then you can see who's asking to come in.
right, and the problem is I need to figure out how to not have the whole screen because I don't see even the participants because the whole screen is being like, here's something, maybe this is it. Sorry, I just said something about, okay, well, let's go on and then I'll check again in a minute. So the calendar, let me go back. Can I go back? Okay, so we have the 1 hour training session. Our calendar has the sign up links for the next 3 sessions because that basically is when you want to do it if you want to get started with the whole team getting started, but it doesn't mean those are going to be the last sessions. And you can always sit through them again if you think it would be helpful. Because as I said, they can seem somewhat overwhelming, so that's why we're providing the preview. So this is what their website basically looks like, and their website has everything you could possibly need to know. But it's easy to be overwhelmed by the amount of information, so we're suggesting that you be strategic. This is the part that is in the upper area here, up in the upper right. It's just a close-up of events is where they do have other events that may not have shown up on my calendar yet. It's just, if you want to look at it separately, I'll be trying to keep up putting things on the calendar. Resources includes resources for volunteers, all kinds of resources. And the voter guide has some of the things that we're going to look at in a minute. So these are the voter guide and the resources are going to be the main place you want to look when you're trying to find something. So just briefly to go over the North Carolina voting rules. This is something that You Can Vote is very much intent on making sure people understand. You'll see that when we get to the script for the calling. In order to vote, you have to be a US citizen, at least 18 years old, although if you're under 18 and you're going to be 18 by the date of the election, you can register, and not serving the terms of a felony sentence. That means you can't still be on parole or probation, but misdemeanors don't prevent voting. People in jail but not convicted can vote. And once you're done with your felony sentence, voting rights can be completely restored. Also, US citizen means US citizen. It's not green card holders. And you'll hear they will emphasize this when they go through things, because at least in North Carolina, it can be a felony if you're not a US citizen or still under a felony sentence to register to vote. So they really don't want people to get caught up by something like that. The registration timing is you can sign up online until October 9th. And I'll show you how that's done. But even if you don't sign up online by October 9th, there's 2 weeks of early voting, and you can go to any early voting spot and still register or fix your registration or change it. So there are a lot of opportunities to get registered. This is the You Can Vote version of somebody being able to register to vote or check and make sure if they're able to vote. And so this is going to become something you'll need to know about if you are, as I said, we'll get to the script, but it's trying to have people check if they're registered. The people I talked to never wanted to check. Hopefully you will be more successful than me, but if you're not, you're at least in the same boat as I was, which is I just couldn't get them to check. But this little thing allows them to register and then, let's see, so mail-in ballots, which, as the president doesn't quite understand, same as an absentee ballot. Anyone in North Carolina can vote by mail. You don't need an excuse or saying you're going to be out of town. How to get the absentee ballot right now, it wasn't true before, but as of this week, they can go online to this website and request the absentee ballot application. So you're not submitting an absentee ballot online. You are able to request it online rather than having to write to the Board of Elections and get one. And for people who've already asked for them, the ballots will actually start to be mailed out this week. Let's see, my notes. Okay, this is what you see if you go to that voter guide in the upper right-hand corner that I had showed you. This they call their fridge card from when they were doing this all in person. And this is just the top of this page. You can scroll down on the actual page and get all kinds of information. This is still about the absentee ballot. When you look at that fridge card and on down where it explains things, you'll need one witness when you're filling it out. And there are rules that explain who can ask for a ballot on your behalf and submit the request. It's basically your family or somebody who's not like on a campaign or other things like that. And one thing that I always tell people is I know in Virginia, it's more complicated than this, but in North Carolina, if somebody is planning to vote in person, I tell them that there's nothing to be lost from getting a ballot, an absentee ballot, just in case. Like, what if something happens and the coronavirus is going crazy and you want to submit an absentee ballot? You can order the ballot, hold on to it, never use it if you want to still vote in person, but it can be used if you want to. So here's the page about vote by mail, how to request the ballot, how to fill it out and mail it. Early voting, as I mentioned, it's from October 15th to the 31st. They will have early voting polling places. It won't be at every single place that you can vote on election day, but they will have early voting polling places in each county, and you can go to any one. It doesn't have to be in your own, polling area. And while you're there, if they find a problem with your registration, they can fix it. You can register from scratch, or if they find perhaps you moved and didn't update your registration, you can do it then. You will have to have identification if you want to register then, but it doesn't have to be a photo ID. In North Carolina, that was the courts decided you do not need a voter ID to vote in a photo ID to vote in North Carolina, and you don't need one to register. But if you're registering under this kind of circumstance, you do need to bring something that shows your address. So you need some sort of identification. And you can also drop off those mail-in ballots. If you filled it out and you don't trust the mail, you can go to an early voting spot and drop it off. Okay, well, now we get to making the calls. After you have that initial training, you can sign up to make calls anytime. We're arranging on Saturday afternoons to have a calling session that's set up specifically for our team or anybody else probably that wants it. But this would be a way, if you want to sign up with other people that you can, talk to afterwards or send emails to or text or whatever, this is designed for that. They schedule a two-hour block of time. The first hour is always a refresher on the rules and a tutorial on the mechanics of the auto dialer. And Jennifer Thomas does all of these, and she's amazing. She she talks very fast and she whips through all of that. So that's another reason why I think it's helpful to have some idea ahead of time. The second hour, if you've just been trained, you can start making calls. And once you feel confident you've been through this enough time, you can go anytime during the 2 hours to make calls. You don't have to wait till the training is over. And I can't remember exactly, I believe that Jen and any other organizers are available by text for questions, but they'll make that clear. And okay, so now we get to through talk, which the first few times can be a little overwhelming, which is why we're giving you this preview. And this is very important. Safari will not work with through talk. You have to, I don't know if any of the other ones do, but Safari won't and Chrome will. So what I tend to do is not probably the best thing. I always dial in on Safari and then I just open Chrome from through talk and I do the Zoom with people on Safari, but you don't have to do it that way. Did somebody start having a question? Let me also just look again at one more time. No, I guess nobody, if anybody else was trying to get in, they gave up. So let's see if I can do this again. Nope, that's not the right one. Let's try this again.
Vicki,
Yeah.
you can come back to us. I had put a question in chat about getting onto Chrome because I tried last week to do it with NextGen and I didn't know how to get Chrome to come up instead of my Safari.
Well, you have to download it for one thing. You
I
download it from Google. And
I already have it.
yeah, then I have no idea. I have no idea, but we could see, if you have a question in the Zoom, we can see if anybody,
All right,
knows.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's very confusing. Okay, so that's the Chrome issue. Now, I do know that for people with iPads, older iPads don't have Chrome, and I don't think can have Chrome, but newer iPads do have Chrome. So, whoops. Uh-oh. I hope you're not seeing my pictures when I do that. Although my grandchildren are pretty cute, I must admit. Okay, so you can vote when you get started. We'll provide a login or a link that takes you to this screen. And all you have to do to put in here is your name, your email, and your phone, because they already have that, so it's in their system. And then you just click on Get Your Login, the blue button. And then the next screen, again, you don't have to, whoops, you don't have to remember anything because they provide, can you see my cursor?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. They provide the login and the password, and all you have to do is copy and paste them into these two boxes, login ID and password, pretty straightforward. And then you click next. And here where it says Flip NC callers, this obviously came from a Flip NC thing, so it'll say you can vote. Sometimes in Flip NC, I think there are multiple candidates, but I don't think you can vote will have anything other than you can vote in this as this option. Now, the thing with the red arrow, that's important. They recommend using your phone, your cell phone, to do the calling rather than using your computer microphone and loudspeaker. I think they've found that often people just don't have good enough broadband to do it with the computer. So, just a minute, I'm losing my place here. Okay, so if you're going to use your phone, you have to uncheck this little box, okay? If you're using a computer, just leave it. But if you uncheck the box, I don't have an example here, but when you click on sign in, there'll be a little pop-up with a phone number and ID number. You dial a phone number on your phone, it'll answer and ask you to put in the ID number, and then your phone and your computer will be synced up. So you can continue to look at everything else on your computer, but you're talking to people through your phone. And then, this is pretty self-explanatory. This is the next thing that happens. So when you're ready, you click here to start calling. And then you get this kind of a screen. It tells you how many seconds have passed, and it tells you how many calls you've made. But first of all, it may take a while. It's not going to be immediate. If there's not a lot of other people making calls yet, it could take a couple minutes before your first call comes through. I'm told that when there are lots of people, then they do come through very quickly. I know they're going to ask you, everybody, Julie Greenberg and I think Linda Schuett are keeping track of things that people are doing, like phone calling. And so this will not be accurate. This little thing that keeps track of calls will not be accurate. So I just keep a little piece of paper and mark off how many calls I've actually had connected, so I can tell them. You don't even have to do that. You could estimate, but that's what I do. The other thing to remember is, for some reason, unless they fix this, the first call may actually go through before you see the person's name. This is what you should see on a call, with this being the person's name. But the very first call, they may answer before you see the name. So just be prepared to start talking without saying, is this somebody? Just say who you are, and their name will come up shortly. And then you can check and make sure it's the right person, because you want to be talking to the right person, not their husband, not their kid. Yeah, you need to be talking to the right person. So on this little box, which will always be there with the person's name, and their phone number, if you ever need to copy it into something, to text something to them. In the middle is this end call button. Do not use that button to end the call. That'll just cut everything off. You want to do it the way that will set you up for another call. So just don't use that. And down here this area is called term codes. And all that is there's 3 options. You'll see next call, no contact, which happens if you had no contact, the person was the wrong person or hung up or whatever. We'll get to those later, or they'll make clear when to say there's no contact. And if you do the little drop down, you'll see the other options, which is talk to correct person, or next call, remove number, do not call. We can't get into that, but they'll explain that. So if you talk to the right person, then you click on that. And then this will be basically what the screen looks like when your script comes up. You'll still have your person's name up in the left here, and your script will show up here. And again, at the end, this is what it will look like, and it'll say, do not hang up your phone. Enter the correct call results on the left, which is referring to these term codes. And then if you don't enter, you'll be logged out. Whatever, you go ahead and log in. You can then take a break. If you can get logged in within the minute, you can take a break. We'll get to that in a minute. So I'll be able to provide a link to this. This is a sample script where you can click around and see what each thing does when you click on it. But this basically is where the script starts. And they want you to pretty much follow the script. We'll talk later about how you can try to make it your own to some extent, but they will tell you they want you to follow these things. And then don't hang up and go to the term codes, and then you'll get this. Next call, talk to correct person, not ready. If you want to take a break, just click on not ready and save it. And you have a few minutes where you can do whatever you want and then come back and get started again. Now about the calling, I don't know if any of you are at all if any of you enjoy making these calls, then that's great. But most people are a little unnerved by it. And that's totally normal because it's totally unnatural way to try to establish rapport. There's no eye contact. It's not like the door-to-door canvassing. They didn't ask you to call them. But there are ways to deal with it that we'll talk about in a little bit later, a little more. They say there are studies that show that if you do it in a conversational manner, not just reading robotically from a script, it can be very effective. And the manner of delivering the message is more important than what you're actually saying. But I'll thank Michael for this because I borrowed some of these from her. Her point is good. It applies for flip also. First, you have to try to keep them from hanging up. And as I mentioned in Through Talk, you have to start talking immediately when you hear the beep, that the beep is your sign that the call has gone through, and they may have already said hello. Maybe not, but they may have already said hello. So they may be hearing just silence if you don't just jump right in. Everybody I've heard talk about calling, phone banking or phone canvassing, recommends smile when you start talking and keep smiling because it shows in your voice. Be conversational, ask them questions, listen actively. Read through the script a few times, make it your own, don't just read it out loud, be responsive, and know the key points of the script so you can improvise, because that's always gonna happen. I rarely would get to the total end of the script without going off in a different direction, but so you can do that. When you'll have people who say, we've got this, we're fine, we're going to vote for the Democrats, although this is nonpartisan, remember, so that may be true, but you are not supposed to engage them about whether they are a Democrat. You can vote, stay strictly nonpartisan, because that way they keep their credibility. So let's see, you can try, can I just tell you one thing? You know, I want to tell you something about the election coming up. It's important, or whatever. If a person says, I don't vote, occasionally you can, before they hang up, ask if they can tell you more about that, and maybe find out more what is, you know, why. You could ask, can you tell me more about that? And if you can make a connection, you can reflect back what you're hearing from them without violating the nonpartisan requirement, as long as you're not offering something partisan. Just a minute. I was going to, before we get to the end there, I just wanted to offer a few things that are not directly on the slides. I watched something recently, it was put out by Reclaim Our Vote, where they had an actor talking about how he does calling. He says as much as he's done performances on stage, he's done improv, but he's totally unnerved by calling a stranger. He's always been and will always be a reluctant phone banker, but he does it anyway because he remembers what we're living through. And he just looks at the script and thinks about what to bring to the first few words to get across to the person. He thinks of himself, I'm one very small tile in the mosaic. It's not about me. This is very important. And one thing that people have noted, and he noted, is that the pandemic actually may be making it easier for these calls, because there are people who are yearning for a connection. They're thrilled to have somebody to talk to. So there'll be a lot of people who don't, but you will have people who are happy to talk to you because they're not getting much in the way of conversation. And let's see. And he also said that each person has their own way to go through through a script, and make it yours whatever way works for you. Just trial and error, try things. If they don't work, just move on. So that's basically it, except for just to end up, this is the election of our lives. On November 4th, or whenever they decide it, if you want to be able to look back and know that you tried your best, even if it was less than optimal phone banking, which is what I tend to feel I am doing, you'll have done it. And it will be frustrating when you get 30 hangups or wrong numbers, which I have had before I got someone to talk to. But keep in mind that no one else is getting much better odds than these. Some people may get more answers on one call and fewer on another one. And I know a lot of you are from Maryland, I guess, or DC or elsewhere in the country, but if you're not aware of it, there was an election in Virginia in the last election, or I don't remember if it was 18 or 16. It was literally decided by a coin toss. I think the Democrats had one more in the first count, and the second count, it was a dead heat, so they tossed a coin. So if you only talk to one person, that may be the person who might be the deciding vote. So that's my pitch for that. And I am done with my spiel, and you can unmute yourself or talk about questions if you have questions or comments or whatever. Now's the chance to share ideas or questions, whatever, or leave. So,
Vicki, will
yeah.
the questions, the chat, I have to go take my husband to the doctor, so will the questions be something that on the chat will be, I can check again in case they teach me something?
That's a good question. I know that we can make a copy of the chat because people have sent me copies of chat. So I will make sure. Does anybody else know for sure how to do that? It shouldn't be too hard, but I'll copy the chat and we'll discuss here some of the questions that may have come up in the chat. So when you see the video, it'll have whatever we discuss here. Okay, also there'll be plenty of opportunity, and you can always, email me if there's something confusing. Okay, thanks for coming.
There is one question.
Michelle?
Putting the link, can someone type into the chat the link to the calendar?
Yes, I will try to do that. And if I don't, I will email it to you. And we'll put it in the website. So I had somewhere, I copied it I was being prepared and I wrote it down somewhere so I could put it in the chat. I don't know if I can find it immediately, so I will definitely get it to you.
I just put it in.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
Link is from your website, or is that link
wait.
from the You Can Vote website? Sorry.
No, not You Can Vote. Michelle, just a sec.
Oh, sure.
No, we are going to, you'll find out about this. Julie is arranging to have a page in the 31st Street website will be a Team North Carolina page where we can put all this stuff. We haven't done that yet, but it's all just about ready to go, and the calendar is certainly ready to go. And if it's in the chat and you go to that link, you should be able to see the calendar. And feel free to let me know if there's anything wrong with the calendar. Whoops, oh dear. Are these? Okay, people who just entered. I apologize if you've been waiting. This is Vicki, and while I was presenting my slides, there was no way to see that you were there. But now that you're here, you're welcome to ask any questions, and you'll be able to see the video because we are recording it. I can see it recording right up here. So you will be able to see everything that I went through with the slides, and I will plan on posting the slides where you'll be able to see them. So,
Vicki, we have a question in the chat. Are we supposed to go to the You Can Vote website to sign up for the phone banking?
No, you don't have to. That's why we're having our own calendar. This will take you to the You Can Vote website. So yes, you sign up with them as far as officially being on their calling list for that day, but you don't have to go to the website and hunt around for where to sign up, because that can be confusing. That's why the calendar, and I don't know, again, I'm afraid to mess around with this. I will send it to you right after this. It's just a Google Doc that I set up, and it has links to everything I can link to. And if you just remember to click on it twice, because the first link only pulls up a second link, and that's the actual link, then that will get you to exactly where you need to go, to a form that you can fill out. So that's, if you don't remember anything else, try not to waste time looking around in a You Can Vote website for things that are like that, because it's going to be difficult to find them. So we're trying to make, that's the purpose of the team, is to try to make things like that easier for you. So we're trying, and if you find something that's not working, just let me know, or let Julie or Michael. We're trying to make it work as easily as possible.
The 3 dates for training, are those 31st Street, or are those You Can Vote directly? The three
They are directly with You Can Vote. Those are the days. Those are days that will give you the 1 hour required advanced training. And that will get you trained in time to get started when everybody, started soon. If something happens and you can't do those, and you have a crisis and you can't start till a month from now, check with us, but You Can Vote will have those on an ongoing basis. So you can always
sign up for those. You can sign up for those directly with You Can Vote, those training dates?
If you want, yeah. I mean, you are, by going to our calendar, you are signing up with them directly.
Okay, thank you.
That's all we're doing, is linking to their website to make it easier than having to find things yourself. That's all that is.
Vicki,
Yeah.
when you say our calendar, I'm new today for the
okay.
very first time. What is that? What
Okay.
calendar is that?
Yeah, let me, make sure to put your email in the chat. And anybody who has a question that you want me to respond to directly, make sure I have your email. We should have everybody's email if you signed up through the right channels, as it were, but there's some people who have appeared without me having the email. So make sure I have your email. When I say our calendar, I mean the Team North Carolina calendar that we have created ourselves, and that you'll get a link to, and that we're providing as an easy way to, it's not just the You Can Vote. That calendar has the stuff for Flip North Carolina, the stuff for voter protection training. So we'll be putting everything on there that we have that you can sign up for. Michelle, did you ever get your question?
No, okay. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. I did sign up already for a You Can Vote training session tomorrow at 10. There's one tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 in case people are available. And I was wondering, I know that the 31st Street calling times are on Saturdays from 1 to 3. So can we sign up to do other times if that's not a good time for us?
Yes, and we have the other times on our calendar. I'm putting everything on there, but Julie wants you to know that she has set that up to try to provide an opportunity for people who want to have a team experience to do it at the same time. So
then this You Can Vote if you didn't need to have it with the 31st Street people and you wanted to do it, let's say on a Thursday night because you have some free time, can you actually do it on a Thursday night because that's when you're free, or do you always have to find a specific call?
You can't call unless You Can Vote has a session scheduled.
Okay.
You can't just go on at midnight
on your own. Okay, because some other organizations I've been working with, I could just call whenever I have time.
Right. I'm pretty sure that this is not being done that way. I could be wrong. I did it, but my recollection, it's been a while.
You can't call whenever you want. You have to call within the You Can Vote sessions.
Right.
Okay.
And they have training sessions.
Yeah, the only wiggle room is that once you feel that you've been trained, you don't have to sit through that training over and over. So I would tend to go in and call at the beginning. But the downside to that, a little bit of a downside, is that because nobody in their group has started calling, it is slower, which I don't mind, to get it slower, but you will
That's
get it
probably good for
slower
me.
then.
I like it slow. And one other
Yeah.
question, when you make these calls, let's say you get someone on the phone who wants more information about how to get their registration. Do we have a lot of answers for them? Like, do we have a lot of information that we could give them?
Yes. I didn't go through all of it. You'll get more specific. Like there's one place on that script where if they say they want, I don't know if I specifically said this, but they want you, I think I said that they want you to try to get somebody to go to that website and check. They say people think they're registered when they're not. They may have been registered in another town or another state. And they really want you to try to get the person to check. And I really had no luck with that. But I will give you one experience I had that I think when I get back to calling, I'll use. When I was calling for Flip, 2 or 3 times, I said something like, "Are you sure you're registered to vote?" Or, "Are you absolutely sure you're registered to vote?" And I had a couple people who said, "Oh, well, I thought I was," and if you can get that kind of reaction and get them to go there, and You Can Vote wants you to actually ask them if they're on their computer or on their phone for you to walk them through it. I don't know how that would work because I never got anybody to be willing to do it. But what you can do is you can say, "Can I text or email you the information?" If you can't do it now or don't want to do it now. And within the script is a thing you click, and it says which do they want. You click. Usually it's a text, and ask them to make sure you have the right number. Although generally it's right under their name in that little name box.
But that number can be either the landline or the cell phone, so you want to make sure it's the cell phone.
Yeah, well, I don't think they'll ask you to text them something if they're calling from a cell phone, from a landline. But I had one lady who didn't have a computer or anything, and I made a note, and I don't remember who was Flip or You Can Vote, but I made a note in there somewhere, please have somebody, call her. So there are, and if you can't find a box to put a comment in, like that, just make yourself a note and let Jen know after the call. She's very receptive to everything.
But also there's a lot of information on their website, so you should look at the You Can Vote website. And also I think in the training session, they will give you a phone number that voters can call to get more expert information. So if I didn't have the answer, I would give the potential voter the phone number to call.
Right.
That's
Lauren,
like a voter hotline or something they're setting up. I worked on one like that. Everybody has issues like, I moved and I don't know where I vote and things like that. And that's
right.
Those are questions.
There are distinctions. The voter protection that 31st Street is setting up is going to be through the Democratic Party. That will be their number to call. That won't get you to You Can Vote. I think You Can Vote works with somebody else who has they will give somebody else's 800 number to ask questions. And Lauren, did you have to come in late because I locked you out? Because I did go through some of it.
I was trying for 15 minutes to get in.
I really apologize. I just
okay.
I just didn't want to keep every minute going out and in and out and in. So, but I will be posting I'll be putting up the slides I did use, so that'll give you an idea of what we did, what we did talk about. Wendy?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So first of all, is it possible to work with somebody on a call to do it in real time? Go to the website and help them sort of look it up? That seems to me the best way to do it, is not to the opportunity.
They are, yes, You Can Vote wants you to do that, and they are
and
hoping you will.
the second thing is I think it's actually really important from what I've read, both on their website and elsewhere, because if your address has changed since the last time you voted,
Right.
you have
Right.
to update your registration or it will be considered invalid. So just,
Right.
it's just a matter of,
Yeah, I don't remember if I'm mixing up scripts, but
Yeah.
they
and that's gonna be-
generally, they'll say,
Yeah.
have you moved since you last voted?
Right. And then the third thing is, if you get students, they're
Yes.
the ones who are really the one. I mean, there's a whole brochure there
Yes.
to talk to students. Anyway,
Right,
there's a
on
lot
their-
of material. Very
Yeah,
good.
if you feel free to go wandering around their website, there's all kinds of
Mhm.
information. They
Yeah.
there's one area where they take basically the same basic information, but they'll say this is for students and this is for formerly incarcerated people and this is for
Yeah.
disabled people. And so there's all kinds of things there. So you may find something that you find useful to know or interesting, but what we've pointed you toward are sort of if you want a way to get to some of the really basic stuff without having to go hunting for it, because I could never remember where any of that stuff was. Any other comments or questions?
We had a couple more questions in the chat.
Okay.
Roberta says she signed up for one session with You Can Vote. Does she need to sign up for a bunch of them in advance? And we also have a question, will we be adding more You Can Vote training sessions since one has already passed?
I didn't think it was already, did it already pass?
There was
Okay.
one yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, you can go to I put those in our North Carolina team just to make it easier, and as a way to do it sooner rather than later, but you can always go, either I could put some more in there, it just gets crowded in the calendar, or you can always go to the You Can Vote website, go to events. It took me a while to figure that out. You want to go to where it says events, and then you'll see a list of all the things they're doing. There's the training sessions and the calling sessions and the student sessions and the Spanish speaking sessions and the training, the 1 hour training sessions that are required. They'll all be there and you can sign up for any one of them. So yes, and you can go through it again if you want to hear it again.
Vicki, this is Roberta.
Yeah.
I also joined late. Sorry, I was about 10 minutes late, and then I had to wait. But so I don't know what you've said so far. But I've done the You Can Vote calling before, and I said before the training session, the initial one is really complicated. I found it like kind of almost overwhelming. But once when you actually sign up to make the calls, they have an hour of training beforehand on the calling tool. And usually the call is really focused. So they sort of tell you what particular areas to focus on. And you get a lot of information that's sort of, very clear to process and pretty straightforward. So it's, I don't know. Right. So, and then also you can pace the calls. You can slow them down, speed them up, sort of, if you want to take a break, you can. Right. So especially for the first time, it's very helpful.
Yeah. Was there anything else important in the chat that?
No, I think we covered it all.
We're okay. Okay, well, it sounds like we're pretty good. It's been an hour. Thank you all for joining in, and don't forget, you can listen to either of the other sessions that you may have signed up for them also. And I'm not sure exactly how they're being posted, but you'll hear about it promptly, I hope. Okay.
Thank you very much for doing this, Vicki. And I know Michael too. I know it's a lot of work, so it's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I really appreciate it. This is great.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I think
You're
would
welcome.
just say most people I talk to who are hesitant about doing phone banking, I mean, it's not our comfort zone, but I think considering the alternative, that
right.
helps.
And and when I mentioned that actor who was talking about how he didn't like it, there were two other people who were talking, and one claimed she said she has Asperger's and she doesn't like talking to anybody, but she's made hundreds or thousands of calls because she felt it was essential. So like I said, if I can do it, really anyone can do it. I mean, I've gotten used to it and it doesn't bother me, but I know I'm not great. So you don't have to be perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Bye, everyone. Good to see
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Why don't you guys can all leave and before I sign everybody